Welcome to the Practicing Accountant podcast. My name is Doug. Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited for this episode today because we will be talking about capacity versus utilization, which is a key to unlocking efficiency and growth in your firm. We hope you enjoy this episode.
We're going to talk about capacity versus utilization today. Kind of very related terms, metrics, I suppose. So talk to me. What do you think about that?
I don't know. To be honest with you. I was schooled under and learned under, certain ways to measure the performance of a CPA firm. Mm-hmm. I think you and I have probably talked about that in the past, but it's LUMBR, L-U-M-B-R, leverage, utilization, margin, billing rate, and realization. So again, that was leverage, utilization, margin, billing rate, and realization. Those are the 5 ways that you measure the performance of a CPA firm. And utilization was something I never really spent much time being concerned about, but it was something that was tracked on me, and it was something that I had to be aware of every year, and I had certain goals of how utilized I would be. And what utilization meant in, the public accounting realm was that a certain percentage of my time was intended to be chargeable, billable. And if I was low in that percentage, then I would be tasked with finding more work to do. And so I would have to find it by reaching out to others and asking for work and do whatever I could to get that number up so that I met the requirement. But capacity was never anything that I was talked to about or held accountable to or asked to create or put any intention upon. Like I was never regulated in my capacity.
Right.
And I think that's where this concept of capacity versus utilization originally, I guess, was planted in my mind. Was how come it's never been something that's talked about formally within a public accounting firm?
Interesting.
And is there a difference between capacity and utilization? Is the firm really just tracking it but using a different term? Are they really tracking capacity but calling utilization? And I think there's an argument for that. And I'm not going to try to be right or wrong here, so I'm not going to say that they weren't. But I'm also going to say it feels different when you talk about capacity versus utilization, right? Like, don't the words just have like an emotional attachment to or a feeling to them? It's like I don't know if you've seen, but like there's this color of car that's being driven around now that's not like just your old blue or your old green. Like it's like kind of like a pastel kind of a color, and almost like the color has a feeling to it.
Sure.
My wife gives me shit because I see it and I'm like, that car has feelings. And she's like, what does green feel like? And I was like, well, it feels kind of chipper and kind of exciting for the day, and that's what that color feels like. But I think those words have this attachment of feeling. So I'll put you on the spot. What feeling do you have around the word utilization?
More of a like if I were an employee and they were talking, management was talking about my utilization rate, it's like I'm a tool, like not a tool, like an asshole.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
an actual tool.
Mm-hmm.
Utilization, like how am I being used, type of thing. So negative.
Yeah,
a negative.
It's colder more than it is warm, right?
Yeah.
It's more formal. It's metric. It's black and white. It's reporting. It's accountability. It's expectation. There's a lot of words that are feelings or association that I make to that word. But to your point, none of it like really rosy and positive.
Right.
It just has a negative, almost defensive posturing around the word. Right. And maybe that's my own PTSD from, what's your utilization this year? And I go into defensive mode of whether I'm using my time appropriately or not.
Right.
But conversely, what does capacity feel like to you?
Capacity is more of a what you're capable of, more of a positive vibe, if you will, to that, certainly than utilization.
Well, there's yeah, same for me. And but there's a different association to having capacity versus having, utilization. Having utilization, having utility is really just the fact that I was meeting the requirement, therefore I don't have to do any more. Or not, or maybe I need to do more. Capacity is just more available. There's more possibilities there. But at the same time, I'll brag a second. So I was a bit of an A player at times in my career, meaning that I was, doing better than maybe some of my peers, not all the time, but every once in a while. And what's one of the biggest fears for an A player? The fact that you're available. Because when an A player is available, what happens? Everybody wants you to do something for them.
Right.
Like work comes out of everywhere. Like, oh, I've got a project for you to do. I've got a client you can help on. I've got something you can do. Here, why don't you come over here and help us over here? Like an A player is terrified of being available because it's just more risk for them. Because A players get put into riskier positions because they're better performers, or they're, call it quote unquote smarter or more effective in how they work, whatever. But an A player is usually put on the riskier stuff.
Right.
And so if they're available, that just means they have to take on more risk because they're going to have to do tougher stuff now because they're an A player. So there's a natural fear to even have capacity as an A player. And so I bring that up because I wonder if that has any influence on why capacity isn't spoken about too much within the confines of an accounting firm, because it's seen as a negative thing.
Right.
If you have capacity, that's a negative. If you have capacity, you haven't done it right. If you have capacity, it's because, well, you must not be an A player. If you have capacity, we're just going to fill it with more stuff. Like capacity, even though it has that feeling spoken to in this conversation of warmth and positivity, capacity within the realm of a public accounting firm, small, medium, large, has a degree of negativity to it.
Yeah. Kind of redirection here with capacity, when saying it feels more like possibility or forward looking. And when you compare the two, it's kind of your utilization is your input, and the capacity to me seems more like the outcome that you're after.
Yeah.
So the input versus the outcome, and this is why I can't stand the billable hour. Tracking. We've talked about we should track to make sure we're spending our time appropriately and not wasting time. But billing by the hour, tracking these sometimes meaningless metrics that result in just getting better metrics and maybe not better outcomes. So
I follow your train of thought, but I think the opportunity here is to quantify the benefit of capacity. I think the opportunity here is to celebrate capacity and how it's used. I think that's where utilization falls short, because what you don't utilize in time is seen as a very clear negative. You didn't reach your goal. You didn't reach your number. But shouldn't we be tracking how capacity is used? Shouldn't we celebrate what we did with capacity? Shouldn't we be putting that in our goals for this year, is how we plan to use capacity and what we're going to do with it, and recognize that it is as important, if not more so, than the billable hour that we typically celebrate, or the revenue we generate, or the leverage we have, or the margin we have, or the billing rate we charge, or the realization we receive. Like how we use capacity, that's the stuff that makes or breaks the business. That's the stuff that keeps it around for years to come. That's the stuff that allows us to further our efficiency and our effectiveness and the value we bring to clients.
Yeah. Like
capacity is the thing to track and how it's used, or how much capacity we created. Like that should be a goal. Instead of reaching a utilization rate or maintaining a realization on a client relationship, I think we should track, capacity. How much capacity do you expect to have this year? which basically means unspoken for time.
Right.
Well, I'm going to get 300 hours this year. Awesome. What are you going to do with it? Well, I'm going to take financial planning class that I've been meaning to take and intending to, because I want to learn about that and I want to offer that to my clients. I want to create a spreadsheet of client advisory services that I could provide and attach some estimate of time and value so that the next time I bring in a client that wants me to do a monthly retainer or subscription, I can quickly throw together a fee with this template that I've created, which I borrowed from a client, by the way. But I think celebrating not only the creation of the capacity, which is the act, but actually how it's going to be used. Pardon the interruption. This is Doug with The Practicing Accountant, and I just wanted to remind our viewers of our website, www.thepracticingaccountant.com. And if you visit, you will learn more about us, what we do, our membership, group coaching, training, and all kinds of good stuff. And we do hope that you visit. Now back to this episode, because that's what motivates. Being motivated to create capacity, that's lacking because how it's going to be used. It's going to be used for more clients, probably at shitty rates. And I'm just going to add more hours to my schedule. But if we motivate capacity in the sense of you can become more of what you want, you can spend more time doing the things you want to be, which could be family. It could be making every practice and recital this year instead of skipping a couple, or picking up and dropping off rather than having to delegate that to a nanny or sitter or sibling. Like I think the capacity versus utilization discussion is really around possibility. It's really around positivity. It's really around creating more from what's available than otherwise would be.
Yeah, I was going to say creating from that spare capacity.
Mm-hmm.
When you're tracking utilization, you are effectively incentivizing inefficiency. Because
yeah, right. Take longer to do something, right?
Take longer, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
If you are now tracking and rewarding spare capacity to use for whatever sort of creative endeavor you want to use it for, that's a much better metric. And what's the saying? You get what you measure. If you measure, you put out a metric that you want people to get, you're going to get that. And whether the consequences are good or not,
I used to laugh because, on imagine a pendulum, and on this side, there's budgets and, making sure you meet the budgets. And over here on this side of the pendulum, there's utilization, right? Mm-hmm. So if you focus on budgets, meeting the budgets and coming in on the hours that you expected to spend on an engagement, guess what happens to utilization? It goes down. But then if you focus on utilization, guess what happens to the budgets?
Yeah.
They get blown.
Right.
And so I've seen firms, I was part of one where, 1 year it's all about the budgets. Then we watch utilization go down. Oh shit, let's focus on utilization. And we saw the budgets creep up. And then we'd hop back over here, and then we'd hop back over here, and never find that nice middle,
right. Yeah.
Where you could actually, sustain a good experience in the engagements that we were working in. I think, what's my point? And I think the point is we should celebrate and encourage capacity building. It should be something that's ingrained in us to create capacity in our businesses. And how we use it isn't necessarily important for this segment of our conversation, at least, but it is to have the ability to get done and have room to do other things, things that we would choose to do. Like that's the gold at the end of the rainbow. It's I've worked hard to create space in my business and life to choose to do what I want. And that might be a different service. It might be more time with family. It might be CPE that we're neglecting, myself included with 2 months to go. Yep. It could be many things that should be celebrated. It should be rewarded. And not in the sense that we filled up utilization and we got all the way to our goal to the point where we had no more time for anything else because we were so utilized and pat on the back. But it should be because we fell short. It should be because we had space left. We didn't just fill it with another client. We didn't just fill it with another project. Whatever we did intentionally. not because we were trying to impress someone or we were trying to meet some number. We were doing it because it was the right thing to do for ourselves and by our business. And I think, and part of the reason why you and I are doing this is because we've found what I believe to be one of the primary opportunities for public accountants, and that is to build capacity. Yep. And you and I are working hard in developing and demonstrating methods in which that can happen. And I think I'm getting to the why here, because it's not about utilization. There is a difference. And what we really want for listeners, viewers, is to really become capacity driven.
Right.
I think. Right. How's that sit with you? Is that about right?
Yeah. I mean, celebrate capacity. That on the other hand incentivizes yourself and your employees to be efficient and effective with your time. And whether you use that spare capacity as, bringing on more high value clients or having a better balanced life, outside of the office, it's going to affect you positively either way.
When's the last vacation you took, like a real vacation?
It was our baby moon. So over, 2 years ago.
And what was it like leading up to that baby moon? I bet you were uber efficient. I bet you got a lot more work done in those days leading up to that vacation than you did on a regular Thursday or Friday or whenever you took that vacation. Is that about right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right. So how do we create an opportunity for capacity that's just like a vacation, right? Like how can we look at this in a way that says, I'm going to get as much done as I can so that I can get to that point of having capacity, and treat it with the same level of interest and excitement as vacation? Like, I don't necessarily need an answer to that, but my point is like, we want to have capacity for the most important things in our lives or in our business. And we want to be excited about it. We want to be motivated by it. We want to work like we're going on vacation to get it.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing how much you can get done when you're under the gun. When you are trying to get done for something that's more important or more exciting or more rewarding or more fulfilling to do. And that's why capacity is our number one thing. That's why capacity is what brings you and I together, and what we hope, the listeners of these videos, take away from our conversation is not only the ability to build it, but the understanding of why it's so important.
Yep. All roads lead to capacity, is you and I.
Yeah, that's where we're kind of going, right? That's the trick. I'll share a quick story. So I had a call with a client today who's out southeast, and he and I have been working on building capacity for a while now, and he had some great success today. He got 3 new clients that paid him about $60,000 a year in total. And he also identified some of his clients that he was going to let go of. And he also was going to outsource some bookkeeping work that he had historically done himself to another group. But he went from, and these aren't the right numbers, I'm just making these up just for sake of conversation. He went from $150,000 in income. And by getting rid of clients, by raising prices, by outsourcing bookkeeping, by taking on some more clients, he still is going to have an extra 300 hours of capacity next year. And he's going to make net around $30,000 or $40,000 more with his efforts to create capacity. And what I love is, what I'm really excited about is, I'm excited for the income for him. Like, that's cool. But what I'm really excited for him is those 300 hours. Like how's he going to spend it? What's he going to do with it? Like, he could go get more clients and make even more money if he wanted to at a higher price, and hopefully better some of those number things, better realization, better margin, better billing rate, whatever. But I'm also excited for him just to explore new avenues of his business, to maybe serve his clients that he already has in better and different ways, and be able to bring more value and more fees for it. That's the piece I'm excited for him, is that extra 300 hours. It's cool. I love bumping into those stories, and you're fresh off of one from 10 o'clock today. So it's cool to see that. So there is a difference between capacity and utilization in my mind. And really it's the opportunity and the positivity that comes from having capacity, And that's why.
You bet. Awesome.
I'm done. I'll shut up.
Cool. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. We'll see everybody next time.
Cheers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Practicing Accountant Podcast. Utilization can be a metric-driven way of measuring your business, but focusing on capacity opens the doors to possibilities, efficiency, and a more fulfilling work-life balance. In addition, using capacity can lead to better outcomes for your firm and personal life, so you should use it. Thank you very much for watching this episode. We hope you visit us at www.thepracticingaccountant.com. Please share and like this episode with your peers and friends, and thank you very much for watching.